In this video, I'll review some of the searchable areas of Wolf. So starting from the blank practice search screen here, you're going to see some parameters along the left-hand side. If you're just beginning to do searches, then getting familiar with what is in these parameters is going to be really helpful to you. So if you're just starting, then I would suggest that you go through these one at a time and just get a sense of what's in each category. So if you hit the plus sign beside each parameter, it's going to expand into a much larger list. So I'm just going to very quickly review some of the areas that you might use frequently. So in the demographics section, you're going to find all the demographics of patients, status of the patients you'll find here, as well as the primary MD. So this would be the physician who is likely attached to these patients. Another one you might use is a lot is the last visit. So when was the last time that they were in to see you? We use this one a lot with panel cleanup, as well as the next time that they're scheduled to come see you. Those are things you can check whenever you need to. Under history, you're going to find things like your problem list. So these are the ICD-9 codes that are attached to the problems in every patient's problem list. So for example, an ICD-9 code for diabetes would be 250. And that's where you would enter this and search by this information. You can also search by medications the patients are on, as well as any lab results that they may have in their chart. And that's anything that would come back from the lab. Could be, for example, hemoglobin A1C or a CBC, any kind of chemistry, blood work, pathologies, any of those kinds of things. Down here, if you use preventative care procedures, then you may actually search by the PAPs or the mammograms. Now this one here is really, really important at the bottom here. It says documents. Now I'm just going to pull this one up really quickly. And in this drop-down menu, this list here should represent the keyword list that you have within your linking screen. So whenever you scan something into your charts, you likely have a drop-down list that you have created for yourself. So this list should be the same. One thing to note is that if you have some inconsistencies on how this information is entered, for example, one of the things that we see a lot, I'm just going to scroll down to mammogram here, is if you don't have consistent entry in your keywords, you may have one person scanning something in as a mammogram, another person might scan it as a bilateral mammogram, and a third person might put it in as mammography. In which case, when you select in the drop-down menu here, it's going to give you all the possible variations of how that information was entered. And so if your data is not entered very consistently, you may have quite a number of variations here to incorporate when you do your searches. So I'll just remove that. So further down, you've got visits. Here you can actually look for information in the SOAP notes. Symptoms, that one only has cough there. Exam findings, this is where you would find your vitals. So this would be your blood pressure, your height, your weight, and there's a couple of scores here as well. You can also search by any billing codes. So this could be your provincial fee code. So those of you who know billing, this would be your 0303As or your 819Gs. And this billing code here as ICD-9, that is your diagnostic code. So for example, for diabetes, the diagnostic code is 250. So you can search by any diagnostic code that you like. Everything is entered from a much larger database. So further down, these ones don't get used too often. You've got your primary care, your care plans. You can do some searches around your prenatal patients, and of course something within the patient portal. Now you can take all of these different potential parameters and filters, and you can mix and match them into something that can be quite useful to you. So for example, you might choose any patients attached to Dr. McCaffrey, anybody who has a ICD-9 code of 250 for diabetes. And then thirdly, you can add to that a lab result. So anybody who has a lab result right here, that would be any diabetic person who has not had their hemoglobin A1C done. So those are just some of the ways in which you can combine those fields.